Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast number 348, Planning Those Summer Projects. How are you folks doing? Hey, I heard from a number of you this past week. Thanks so much. I love your questions. I truly love your support. It means the world, and it keeps giving me fuel to keep moving this forward. So thanks ever so much. Hey, this is going to be another podcast recorded on the Adobe Podcast Beta. I appreciate you guys keep telling me that you like it. You're hearing the improvements. Anything I can do to sound better is really a good thing. So remember also that on the podcast blog post, there's a link to the transcript, which I don't think is going to be any cleaner this week, but it is there, and many of you said you enjoy it, so there it is. Couple folks emailed this week asking what happened to my guests. Bottom line is, one needs to stay home in order to talk to guests, and I have been going crazy this whole, since last November, really. It's on my mind. I'm trying to do it, trying to sync up calendars, working or talking with my peers. They're just as busy. So it is on the list. I appreciate you asking, folks. Some people asked, I had two people ask also, what happened and how am I doing on my New Year's resolution now that it's month 6? God, where did time go? All right. So, articles. Cranking on the articles. 2 more this past week. I've got a couple coming out. Shooting at the yard. Yes, I got a lot done in May, right? Yeah, May, end of April and May. So I felt really good about that. And videos. I got a couple more videos out. So, in the short run, doing really well. Over the whole 6 months, probably falling behind, but that's better than having a goose egg. So, appreciate you keeping my toes. I need that help. Hey, I also want to thank my good friend at Bedford's Camera, bedfords.com. Hey, this 6th, folks, coming up tomorrow, Tuesday, I am doing a live online bird photography class, brand new class. Not quite finished yet. Well, it's outline done. I haven't polished it. Polishing always takes the longest. But I'm going to talk everything about starting to continuing to taking it to the best you can where you are right now in your photography. It's free. It's online, hosted by bedfords.com, brought to you by Nikon. I mean, that's just a small sampling of what Bedfords does to help us photographers move things forward. You know, they've got killer prices, great staff and knowledge. I know a whole lot of you folks got your Z8 from them. Killer, great stuff. So, hey, give them a call. Drop by the store. They got a bunch of them. When you do, make sure you say hello. Thank them for sponsoring the Moose Podcast. Make sure when you make those purchases, you get that Moose discount. Yeah, after you check out, you can see 5% back, man. Big time, 5%. That's just killer. That's even on sale prices. So bedfords.com. Thank you guys for supporting the Moose Podcast. One other question that has come up many different ways, the Z8 or the Z9, which one is Moose going with? Well, I haven't changed that much over all these years. I always had the bigger D5, D6s. That was always my main body. I just like the bulk of the size in my hand. It just works. And until my arthritis takes over and I can't hold anything anymore, I don't see that changing. That said, the Z8's still in the bag. It's a great camera. We're shooting again with it over the weekend. Attached to that Z400 4.5, it's just a sweet aircraft or birds on the wing combo. I love the performance. So I have them both. But the one I'm going to grab the majority of the time, unless it's on that 400 4.5, will be the Z9. That's just my own preference. And in case you missed it, I did post my latest and probably last settings for the Z8 last Friday on the website. So many questions. I actually wrote down a list of stuff, which is so unlike me, but I did. All right, let's get right to this episode. Planning those summer projects. Now, I'm not talking about the ones the spouse has on that whiteboard on the door leading into the house from the garage, that to-do list. Nope, nope, nope. Not talking about those summer projects because those are a given. They are going to be done. No, 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 no. I'm talking about those photographic ones, okay? Those ones that light our fires, set our imaginations going, get us wanting to get out and take photographs. Those summer projects. Now, in planning them, first, remember that on Kelby One, I got a whole lot of classes. A couple of them, Shooting Montana Big Skies and Northern Lights, just to name two, have very big sections on planning, all the nuts and bolts. We're talking a minimum of about 40 minutes there of all the things to go through in planning any kind of photographic adventure. So that's there. I'm not going to take time right now to duplicate it. I was going to take and go on to some other things. It's June. It is Memorial Weekend is now in the rearview mirror. We are moving forward. Summer is, as far as I'm concerned, is here, even though it's not stopped raining or being gray skies here in the Bitterroot Valley. But anyway, everywhere else it's warm. So planning for summer and fall shooting projects. We're going to start with that. Now, planning. A couple of things to think about and look at is the experience you want to have. I'm not talking about the one behind the camera. I'm talking about everything else in between and around that actual moment of going click. I don't know if you've noticed or have done any reading yet, but the number of folks traveling is big. It's much bigger than I've seen in years. I go through Denver a lot. That's my main hub as I travel. And there are certain periods of the day and certain days of the week where I knew I would kind of have the place to myself. I had certain places I like to sit and relax between flights if I have a long layover. Yeah, not now, man. There are people. So first thing you do about planning is when you go somewhere to shoot, a lot of that success you're going to have when you're out there shooting is the tranquility of having it, the place to yourself. So one thing you want to plan is that. Now, it doesn't mean that, okay, so you have a family and you want to go to Yellowstone and you've got a block of time when you've got that vacation and kids are out of school. And because there's going to be people, you abandon that idea. Not saying that at all. In fact, you can work around that. Many places, Yellowstone, Arches, Yosemite, Glacier, Smokies, the vast majority of time folks want to go out. It's not when you, a photographer, want to go out. The early mornings, late evenings, that's where you're going to find the fewest number of folks in many of the places. The next thing to do when you're planning is look at trails. It is really surprising and perhaps really sad, but you can just walk literally 10 feet off the road and a lot of times leave millions of people behind, and all of a sudden you have it all to yourself. So when you're planning, one thing to think about is the tranquility of having the moment to yourself or your family or your friend, whoever you're doing it with. And why would you be planning fall now? Well, fall color depends on a couple of things. One has to do with the amount of rainfall that happens during the spring and then when the cold temperatures snap. Well, you'd be surprised that a lot of places right now have got a lot of rain. Some had huge amounts, like the east side of the Sierras, some parts of the Rocky. So if you're into fall color, now's the time to start looking at those rain totals, looking at what actually fell, start seeing what region you want to go to, and then seeing if you can find lodging. I bring that up because a lot of the great places for fall color, the lodging kind of gets sucked up really quick. So there's a lot of places you can reserve the rooms and then you cancel, within 30 days, you don't get dinged for it. But if you wait until 30 days out and try to find the room, there are none, then hey, there ain't no shooting. So now it's the time to start planning and thinking those kind of things through. All right. So that's some basics for planning some trips to think about. I'm not going to really go into locations because if you're in the US, there are, and we are incredibly fortunate to have so many that fit whatever genre of photography and passion you want to pursue. So I'm going to leave that up to you, but I do have a few suggestions over there on Kelby One classes. Next thing I want to bring up when it comes to planning and probably maybe, start executing now for next summer, because you'll get some bump this summer, but you'll get more next summer, is start planning and acting and working and building that backyard shooting gallery for the birds. Now is a great time for a couple of reasons. One, you've got, depending on region, you've got some regions, the birds have already nested and the kids are out looking around for a place to hang out. And if they're migratory, places to come back to. Other areas, you've got birds perhaps just coming in for the nesting season, and you got everything in between. Now, when it comes to creating your own shooting gallery, I have got a lot of classes out there online. In fact, a little bit of what I'm doing tomorrow, Tuesday, will be a little bit about that backyard shooting gallery. But you have three basic things that if you bring those in, you can have the birds. That's food, water, and cover. Now, talk about this a lot. I have people say, well, I live in an apartment. I did too once, and there are solutions. If you want food, water, and cover, and you live in an apartment, well, sometimes you can't have food because it makes too much of a mess. But water, yeah, no one ever complains about water making too much of a mess. You can get one of those windowsill plant holders, put in a little bowl in there, and then you get one of those plant holders for your windowsill. So you have a little potted shrub right next to this bird bath, and you can shoot out the window of your apartment. You can make it happen, but you've got to start working on it. It might be a summer project in which to, put in the back of the mind and actually act on. Doesn't cost much money, doesn't take much time, but brings in lots of photographic benefits. The best one is to start helping you improve your photography, making the most of the gear you've got. Now, if you have no idea, for example, you're new to this whole thing, which it happens, right? I was new once. And you're curious, like, what birds are in my backyard? Because if you go to a nursery or go to online to buy birdseed, you'll see that, for example, birdseed, you'll say it's good for this, that, and the other bird species, but you might not even know bird species, let alone know they're in your backyard. There's a killer app. It's called Merlin, as in the wizard. And Merlin is free, and it has a sound option on it, and you click it, your iPhone or smartphone listens, and it will tell you what birds it's hearing. Literally tell you, if it's American robin or American goldfinch or, waxwings or whatever the bird might be, or birds, plural. And then you can look at that and go, oh, I've got these birds. And so if it says you have, tanagers, birdseed won't do you any good. If it says you have hummingbirds, birdseed won't do you any good. If it says you have cardinals, then birdseed is the way to go. So that Merlin app, really simple way of taking on that summer project of building your own shooting gallery in the backyard, which I've been doing for decades. And I'm here to tell you, not only do I get to improve my bird photography and try out new techniques and new gear, it makes money because the images that I take in my backyard, I get them published. I get paid. So There you go. Another great project. What's another great project right now? Doesn't have to be in your backyard. Probably won't be, but getting out with your binoculars and just watching birds, you're going to start seeing some nesting birds. Again, that Merlin app will tell you what birds are around. And some birds have, definite broadcasting calls when they're trying to attract the mate. Sometimes when they actually have a nest. Not that everything is going to be, that cut and simple with the Merlin app, but it gives you some insight you might not have. And nesting birds are just a marvelous way that you can celebrate and tell their story. Now, when it comes to nesting birds, the website has got a big paper on it because you have to do it with some care. I mean, the bottom line is the birds have to succeed at their nest. Your photographs, yeah, they come secondary. It's the survival of that species that's important, but telling their story, that is really a big deal. And telling their nesting story, you'd be surprised how many people you can pull in when you share those photographs. I can't think of a better summer project to plan and execute than working on those nesting birds. Last thing to think about that I want to mention when it comes to planning those summer projects. The month of August is typically a very quiet month for critters. Most big game is off somewhere trying to stay cool and get fat for the winter and getting ready to grow their new pelts. Most birds have finished their nesting and have moved on, so that gets quiet. The light gets a bit hard. So planning your shooting time and your summer projects, think about that quiet month of August. What can you accomplish? Is that the time, for example, you're thinking about buying that new lens or new camera? Maybe August would be the time to rent that first, test to make sure it's what you think you want, and then get ready to make the purchase. One possible use of that kind of dead time. You could self-assign yourself something for the month of August, thinking about planning those summer projects. Maybe you want to try to conquer really hard light. Maybe, depending on where you are nowadays, you could be getting rid of the color cast from wildfire smoke. Another project to take on. You could think about August as a month for planning your winter projects, trips you want to go on. So there is so much, but if you had to wrap up the whole podcast, the whole thing is start doing your homework today so you can get the shots tomorrow. That's what planning those summer projects really is all about. You guys are great. Thanks so much for all your TLC that you throw out to me. I'm grateful for it. Have a great week shooting, and remember to make every click your story.